You're listening to the Beautiful Minds Podcast.
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 The Beautiful Minds Podcast with Marlon Dundas.
We're recording now.
He likes to do that.
Yeah, it's come out of nowhere.
I was like, one day it's gonna catch me talking shit about somebody. And you're like, well,
fuck
you know,
that
Brittany,
bitch, and I'll be like, oh,
it
Brittany.
was good, so I put it up.
And I'm not gonna
okay.
edit it out too. I'm gonna leave it in. I'm gonna send it to that person. What is this? This is the third Millennial Perspective podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're on with Elijah Taylor. Elijah is a podcaster herself.
Thanks, you. Paved the way for me. Appreciate it.
Help it indoors.
Yeah. So he's the host of the Elijah Taylor podcast, where they pretty much shoot the shit, right?
Yeah, pretty much. In a nutshell, yes.
In a nutshell. So this episode of the Millennial Perspective is going to be for what? You know, we're going to talk about October 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to review October 2017. Moving forward, I'm going to try to have Brittany, my trusted confidant, as a staple, and then we're gonna bring on somebody new every time, and end of every month. So, this month's edition is Elijah Taylor. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I guess for those of you who don't know me, which is probably most of you,
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm a 24-year-old. No, it's bad. I have to think
Getting
about
old.
my age sometimes.
We're getting there.
24. Right now I'm working for the teachers' retirement system in the financial district. Outside of work, because I hate talking about work, I'm a runner and now a podcaster. For those of you who don't know me, I used to run high school. I ran collegiately. Now I still run post-collegiately on a semi-competitive level. So do everything from track events. I did my first half marathon actually in May. So next year I'm going to actually run the New York City Marathon.
Very nice.
I found out that the time I ran had given me an auto qualifier. So I don't have to like do the lottery or anything. So I just enter and I go. So I'm gonna do it next year.
Perfect.
Get it off the bucket list,
Very
and that'll
nice.
be that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get paid?
What if you win?
No, I mean just to run semi competitively.
Oh, some of the races I do, I get money. Like if you like club nationals, for example, there's prize money if you're like first, of course. But it's not like life-changing money. Like it's not enough money where I could quit my day job.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you get money, but is it enough to quit your day job? No. You gotta run faster. You gotta run a lot faster for that. You gotta get like a sponsorship or something.
I think the New York City Marathon is this Sunday, right?
Yeah, it's on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let me see. The most I've ever ran might be 3 miles.
Not bad.
Eh.
It's more than a lot of people.
No, it is, but I'm just saying that to say I'm never gonna run the marathon, and I'm pretty comfortable saying
confident?
that. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Changes.
I don't gotta do that. But I mean, watch me doing it in the next 5 years. Watch me do it or something. But I don't think I'm ever gonna run a marathon.
You never know.
If my time comes and goes, and I never did it, I'll be like,
You'll be all right.
Yeah. So, and then we got Brittany Davidson over here
Hello.
to my right.
I've ran all of 3 minutes, whatever distance that is.
Wow.
Could be very far.
No.
How fast you did it.
Probably
City
not
blocks.
that
If you're
fast.
chasing the bus, that could have been like easily half a mile.
Wow.
City blocks
That
are
could be a
big.
half a mile. You're right. Oh, I should give myself a little more credit.
There you go. Not bad.
I run for the train every morning.
Right. Running up the stairs.
Very
that has to be
crucial.
something. A quarter mile.
At least.
So we had a pretty crazy October.
Too crazy.
Mhm.
We had the Anthem Protest. We had who was the Sergeant LaDavid Johnson? Is that his name?
Oh, that was married.
Ooh.
Was it LaDavid Johnson? Is that his name?
Yes. I wanna say
Yeah?
that's
Was
his
that the name?
I want to say that's his
I
name.
could be wrong, but I'm looking it up right now. We
I wanna say
had
you're correct.
yes, LaDavid Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
We had Spain, where what was the city in Spain that's now trying to secede and become its own country?
Can't pull it up.
That's like apparently like the biggest thing that's happening internationally these
a lot of
days.
natural disasters. In
A lot of
October, too.
the national
And then
disasters.
natural
Puerto
disasters. Wasn't
Rico-
the Vegas shooting in October?
the Vegas shooting
That
in
was awful.
October as well.
It's been actually
Hurricane
hurricane.
Maria in Puerto Rico.
Irma
Before.
Harvey.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was.
But Harvey was September, right?
Harvey might have been late September,
yeah.
but the effects obviously was felt.
The effects are still being felt, right? Exactly. Right. So, we try to follow this. We try to follow an outline for the podcast. This is news stories, person of the week, person of the month, or worst of the month, and any other topics we want to touch on. I cannot have anyone talk about Trump as the worst of the month because he's always going to be worst of the month. So, but as I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's the angle I'm going to take moving forward for this podcast, every time I turn around, there's always Trump being brought up. But let's start on a happy note. Mm-hmm. All right, Brittany, what's your shining light for October?
A shining news story to kind of distract us for a moment, make us feel like there's still hope in the world.
The fuckery
is that there's still been firsts, not only for African Americans but for women. Mm-hmm. So Tanya Boyd, who actually had a ceremony at my church, Christian Cultural Center, was the first female African American deputy chief of the FDNY.
Wow.
And it's amazing that it's the first in 2017, right? Mm-hmm. Of course. Like, we don't really think about, like, what is there that's still left to be accomplished when someone else receives a first. It's like, oh, wow, there hasn't been one before you? Yeah, yikes. Exactly. But yeah, it was a pretty, like, cool moment. I wasn't there, but I got to see the footage online. She started as a paramedic, was a 21-year veteran, and then, just climbed her way up. And it's interesting to see that, she's not like someone who was put on,
She worked her way. She worked her way up.
Right. She worked her way up. Like, she didn't have anybody refer her. And I think that's really what makes the accomplishment all the more notable, is that, you weren't plugged in. It wasn't somebody that just paid your way through whatever you needed to do to have your credentials and have your license. Like, you got there on your own. So I think that's really inspiring. As
a Black woman, how does that make you feel, though? I mean, you're looking at another Black woman in a field, in a profession that's not very supportive of women, let alone minority women, you would think, working, let alone being put into a position of leadership.
Right.
How does that make you feel moving forward? I know on one end you're gonna be like, oh, like it's 2017 and this is the first time, but on the other end, are you like, oh, like this is really cool?
Yeah, like there's always gonna be deterrents. There's always gonna be something happens. Oh, like a budget, or there's someone who's been there longer than you, and it just so happens to be a man. There's always things like that. But just to see that these doors are being opened, it just makes it all the more possible for my generation and the generation behind us to feel like, okay, this is possible. Like, for you to be a Black president, it's possible. For you to be a Latina Supreme Justice person is possible. Like, all of those doors are being opened now. It's just with time. There's a lot systemically that has gotten us this far behind everyone else, but it's all about pushing through. Progress. Yeah, breaking barriers, exactly.
That is true. I don't know, like that's hard, tough to follow because she just.
I should have went last.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just went Rosie the Riveter.
That's what coming from weekend times next.
Man. I think Elijah, you and I have the same takeaway for October, right?
Yeah, for news main story.
Yeah.
Well, mine's the biggest thing that really kind of struck a nerve with me was the whole, and I hate talking always about sports, but this is kind of bigger than sports right now. It was with the Houston Texans GM. His name's Robert McNair, but I don't respect him.
Oh, the general manager.
Not the general manager. My bad. The owner.
Yeah.
Let's call him Bob because he can't get his full name. So Bob McNair had made comments, I guess, at a meeting in New York. They had a meeting with the owners and select players of the Players Association. Basically, kind of, what was the exact analogy he used? He had said,
we can't have the inmates running
the prison. And in my head, I was like, there's no realm that you say that and you don't think it's not offensive. And I was like, are you serious? And he kind of apologized, but then. So one of the greatest things I read is Richard Sherman, the cornerback for the Seahawks, had tweeted don't be mad at what he said. Be happy that he said the truth.
Now you know.
Don't go back and say it. I'd rather someone say the truth than go back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, when in fact they actually did.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it crazy that we're in 2017 and people still can't be themselves. And I if he wants to be a racist, by all means, but own up to it. Don't try and apologize and say that's not what I meant.
Right.
And go back on what you initially said.
Right. Like when I first heard that, my first reaction was, "Oh no, the hell he didn't."
Yeah.
Like what level of comfort did you feel to just even say that? Like you may have racist ideals and racist opinions about people, but you usually don't say it. And it felt like he was in a forum where he felt so comfortable to say that.
Say it. Room full of people.
Yeah, you know. But for me, my biggest takeaway about that whole thing is that there's no recourse for that. There's no repercussion for it.
Yeah,
he still is going to own the team. The team, you know, he's still
make his money.
Making all of his money. If a player spoke out in any way that harmed the image of the NFL, the NBA, MLB, whatever, they will be fined, suspended. They might not even be signed ever again. Colin Kaepernick is still unemployed because he knelt because of systematic oppression in our law enforcement systems.
And we love to make it about something else.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you hear, well, it's an anthem protest against the military and the United States. Like, oh, he never said I hate this country.
Right. Our problem is he said he told everybody why he's kneeling, and we keep ignoring it. That's my biggest problem. Like, we're talking about what he's not talking about. Like, we're going around the whole topic. Like, we're avoiding the reason why he's kneeling. Mm-hmm. And I hate it because the more they say, oh, we're kneeling, we're disrespecting the anthem, the more the actual stance that he stood up for is being neglected, I feel like. Mm-hmm. So like it frustrates the hell out of me. I'm sorry. Yeah,
you know, it really frustrates me when people use opportunity, like use these different situations as an opportunity to create caricatures for their own racist or bigoted ideals.
Yeah.
But Colin Kaepernick never uttered the words "I hate America." I never uttered the words "I hate this flag." Mm-hmm. Colin Kaepernick is exercising his right that the flag provides him. And I'm tired of saying it. I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over again. But here we are again having this discussion. And in relation to Bob McNair, I mean, he's good. Bob McNair doesn't have to worry about what anyone says. The only reason Bob McNair is going to worry about what anyone says is because Bob McNair is going to be worried about his team, his sponsors for the team.
Yeah, it's just the image.
Yeah, the money.
He doesn't like the image, and that's going to affect his pockets.
But he's still going to own the team.
But he's still going to make his money. He's still a very wealthy man.
Still a very wealthy man. He's still the owner of the team. I haven't heard anyone move to have Bob McNair removed from, being an owner. David Stern. Was it David? Was it David?
You're talking about the Clippers?
No, but was it David Stern? David Stern wasn't the gentleman. Wasn't the commissioner of the league, right? That was
in the NBA.
Yeah, that was he wasn't. It was Adam Silver. Here we go. Adam Silver had just became the commissioner, and dude, he went on. Do you know what happened, Brittany? By the way, okay. So the Los Angeles Clippers NBA team, their owner was blackmailed by his mistress. Yeah.
I like the story already.
Where he was saying to her, I don't care what you do with them. You can fuck them. You can hang out with them or whatever. I just don't want to see you taking pictures and being with them in public. And by them, he meant black people. More specifically, Magic Johnson. Yeah.
Really? Magic is just like untouchable.
Yeah.
Like,
so
don't do that.
He never uttered the word, the N-word. He never did. He never said anything really derogatory, like like literally derogatory. Right. But the entire premise of that conversation was, "I don't want you with them," which is derogatory. Anyway, I mean, which is like unacceptable. So when that hit
the mistress talking.
Yeah, well, he's speaking to the mistress. Yeah,
she's recording it,
and she was recording it. Yeah,
okay.
And when it came out to the public, Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA, was like, "Oh hell, hold the phone! No,
right?
You're not about to own a team in my league." Right. And straight up,
that's the thing. Like,
force him to sell.
Yeah, when it comes to, at least from friends, I've had friends that have lived like in LA or lived like on the West Coast, like lived in not really Tennessee, but maybe like what's the area I'm thinking of? Like Southwest, areas. And they tell me like how it sounds so crazy because it really shows how like some people just really live in a bubble. They don't know what it means to interact with other people that aren't like, I don't know, Southern Baptists, that aren't of a different race, that have grown up in any other environment than what, like everyone knows the same amount of info that everyone else knows, and there's nothing else to know.
Right.
So one of her, what was it? Her sister's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now, said, oh, all Black people really, like, all of these successful Black people aren't really, like, successful because most of them came from, like, a background of drugs or, like, prostitution or stripping,
Jeez, right.
So I don't really get, like, I don't really get how that means that they're successful when they've just been selling drugs this whole time and now they're here,
Wow,
It's things like that.
Simple-minded
Yeah,
individual.
and these are people that are well off, like, in what they're doing. So it's like, you can really just tell, like, you really don't know anything other than what you're
ignorance.
in. The middle, upper class, waspiness.
Yeah.
So crazy.
But it's true.
It was just weird for me because I feel like if this, like, what's his guy's name, by the way? The owner?
The owner, I want to say it was...
I just remember he had so many plants. He looked like
I was gonna say Don Imus by accident.
Oh shit! No, but it looked really. I mean, just the fact that the NBA distanced themselves so quickly from him, because that most of 85% of all NBA players are African American, 72% of NFL players, if I'm not mistaken, are African American, and not a peep from the NFL about like.
Man, it all has to do with ownership. Like it all goes to like who owns, like who runs what. Like in the NBA, that's frowned upon. And like Commissioner Adam Silver, if you look at his he's only been commissioner for like what 4 years
now. Yeah,
but like he has a good track record of taking care of like good public affairs. Like, you know what I mean? If anything major happened, for example, I think teams had like a silent process once. I forgot who. Too many murders. I can't pinpoint.
I think was it Trayvon Martin?
It might have been Trayvon Martin. I think everybody came out in like a black T-shirt instead of like their regular team issued apparel. And like there was no issue. Like whereas in the NFL they're trying to fine you for something like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why players can't be involved in social affairs.
Right. I mean, and it's not like the NBA is like a clean place as well. Like Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who did the same thing Colin Kaepernick did back in the 90s, I think it was, and he was kicked out of the league.
Yeah.
He hasn't played since in the NBA.
Yeah.
So they have their black eyes too.
Yes, because they're owned in their field. They're owned. It's not a matter of, like, it's almost like a model. A model can't have an opinion. Model can't say that she's tired, that she's hungry. You're here to do your job.
Walk the runway,
Right, and then once you're off my field, once you're out of my studio, you can do whatever you want. But when you're here, you do what I say.
But speaking of that, but not having to have an opinion, I just thought about this. Did you see yesterday ESPN released?
I wanted to bring this up, and I'm glad you did, actually.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports or broadcasting, whatever, released a statement to their employees where they said that you're not allowed to have an opinion on your personal social media accounts because it's going to be reflected bad or negatively upon the brand. Yeah. And what?
Right.
Because Jamel Hill, who just recently came back from a 2-week suspension or a week suspension.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, right?
I didn't watch the whole 2 week suspension.
Because she said the best way to impact Jerry Jones is a Dallas Cowboys football team, their owner. The best way to impact him and change his opinion or change his stance on publicly speaking out against players kneeling by saying, "Oh, if anyone on my team kneels, we're gonna cut them." She's like, "Well, if fans are really mad about it, just don't patronize his sponsors.
Exactly.
Boycott the sponsors." Because you boycott the sponsors see why, and if sponsors are not going to fund him because then they're not going to sponsor him or the Cowboys because our marketplace doesn't support him. And ESPN's like, hold a second, we have sponsors. What are you saying? And then they suspended her because she's been very opinionated on her personal social media account. Now listen, I get it. I understand that when you're the head of a company, you want your employees to not impact your brand in any way.
Right.
But at a certain point, you got to look at yourself from the grand scheme, from like a big picture perspective. And 40 years from now, you're going to be that company that shut somebody down because they had an opinion that is going to hold up historically. Jamel Hill's anyone's opinion about social justice, about people living in a harmonious environment, people being able to express themselves freely, that ages so well. Any moves to denounce freedom and any type of expression never ages well.
Right.
It never does. Like, there's never a moment in history where that was like, oh, this conservative approach aged very well. We're always going to look back and use you as an example, or use them as an example of what not to do.
Exactly.
And now we're going to sit back. Now we're just sitting back and waiting for the demise of ESPN, because after that happened, why would you want to work for ESPN if you got, and I got Fox Sports it's having people just say the most crazy shit.
Right.
Yep.
And it's because they want ratings and they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a journalist who actually cares about my opinion, I'm gonna go to Fox Sports, or I'm gonna go to CBS Sports. I'm gonna go to MSNBC or whatever it is, and be their correspondent, because they want me to have an opinion. ESPN just wants you to stick to sports now, because it's hurting their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about their money.
So, but essentially, what they're pretty much saying is, fuck where you're coming from, fuck your opinion, fuck what your socioeconomic background is, fuck what you represent, fuck anyone it is that you're trying to give a voice to. Yeah. Fuck all of that. This paycheck you're getting right now, this is pretty much just fuck everybody but get your money. Mm-hmm. And if anyone lives in that existence, I would like to distance myself from them. Yeah. Because what is your point when it's all said and done? Oh, you made a lot of money, but then what?
Right. What do you stand for?
Right.
Like a sellout, basically. But that irks me so much, just because the whole thing is, people always say, "Oh, stick to sports." Like, we get mad at the athletes. We tell the athletes to stick to sports. Now we're telling the analysts stick to sports.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you gotta look at what is the true purpose of sports. Like, people watch sports because it unites us, it helps us, it brings us through tough times. Now, that one thing that brings us together through hard times. Because let's look at Houston, for example. They just won the World Series. That city's been through a lot. That I'm pretty sure right now, everybody's spirits in that city's probably been the highest it's been in a long time. Mm-hmm. And now, stick to sports now. We can't talk about anything besides just sports now. And I hate that, because that's limiting us growing as a country. You know what I mean? We need to have these discussions about these things, because if we don't talk about it, it won't get addressed, as we clearly seen.
But where are these people coming from? Like, where are the athletes coming from? The guys that you see on the field that you're telling them to stick to sports, where are they coming from? Like, nobody's coming from a position where they had a silver spoon in their mouth.
Very rare. Yeah, for the most part.
How many of these guys come from broken homes?
They all, me and my friends always say this, like, in order to make it in sports, 95% of the time, you have to have a story. You have to go through some crazy adversity.
Yes. Like,
it's never just you.
Sports has to be, sports has to be your way out. Yeah. Like, if I don't make it in this sport, I got nothing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for you to then look at them when they finally made it and be like, we don't care about where you came from, bro. Mm-hmm. Shut up and play. And it's sad. It's totally sad. And I hope it changes. I mean, the public reaction is always what companies feed off of anyway. Yeah. Because that's where you're gonna get. That's where your market share is. Right. Just so you gauge whether or not your opinion is gonna be fruitful. And I think they're realizing that their opinion is hurting their brand. Yeah. So hopefully ESPN just realizes, okay, we can't just be a corporate monster and continue to suppress a lot of people's opinions. And just be like a black and white company, because sports isn't black and white. And it comes from a place of it comes from hardship. Like, a lot of our analysts and a lot of our athletes that we speak about come from areas that are affected by these decisions. So that was my rant. By the way, so we're gonna be positive again.
Yes.
Let's go back to positivity again.
All right, I'm the ray of sunshine.
So me, for October, I had a distinct opportunity. Had a great opportunity to go out with a friend of mine and his family to see his sister perform, and her biggest performance date of yet as of today, whatever, ever. So her name is Anissa. She was on episode 7 or 6 of this the Beautiful Minds podcast, and she's the sister of my best friend. Next to Brittany, but
Not offended at all.
And I never really knew much about her, but it turns out that one day I was looking on YouTube and it was a trending video, and she's singing "Take Me to Church" by Hosier, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh shit! Like what?" Like it just clicked, and I go on YouTube, I research, I looked up her name, and I see like she has all of these covers, and then she has a single as well, and it was amazing. So that was like 3 years ago, I want to say. Now, fast forward to a few weeks ago, Static Selector, the DJ from Boston, Maine, or whatever. He lives in Brooklyn now, but he has an album coming out in December. It's called Crazy 8, and she's on the single, and he wanted her to headline that night with on a song with Joey Badass and G-Eazy, and they're like, "Hey, are you free? I'm like, am I free?" Of course. Yeah. But it was cool because I just knew her story. I knew that she went to Edward R. Murrow High School in Brooklyn for a gifted student to performing and stuff like that. And she never really told anyone that she was a singer. She never told anyone. She was in class with Joey Badass. And Static said on the stage, he was like, "You know what's crazy? We recorded the entire song, and when we're done and everything," she goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, me and Joey were in class. We're in class in high school." And he's like, "Wait, what? We just did this entire song. You usually lead with that." And she was like, "Oh yeah, we were in class." And he's like, "You're not like starstruck?" Yeah. She's like, "No, I mean, But it was just how in tune she is with herself, and that she's so humble in her approach to her talents and what she stands to with the difference that she stands to make in the world. And I find it to be very unique. So look out for Crazy 8, I think it's called. This is December 8th. It's gonna drop, and she's on the single. I forgot the name of the single, but whatever. It's her name is Anissa, and I'm so proud of her. And by the way, I'm gonna name drop the hell out of her everywhere I go.
Anissa, yeah, that's my best friend.
Yeah.
I've known her since she was like in diapers.
I knew her forever. But it was super cool, and she had one of my favorite podcast episodes that I've ever done on the Beautiful Minds. And since then, I mean, still lives at home, still goes to school. She's still in college. I'm a regular girl. I just sing sometimes. What?
But I'm also insanely talented.
Yeah.
By the way.
So, but anyway, so on that day, like, why she's my person of the month is because all those things I just told you, sitting there now in that in that lounge, it was like a jazz lounge. Yeah. Watching her go up on stage and just be like, "Hey guys, hi," and all a bunch of hip hop heads. Everyone there got like hoodies on and everything. But yeah. Everybody's just ready to just go in because it's an underground hip hop scene. Yeah. And she goes, "I'm just gonna kick it off," because Badass wasn't there. So she went from being the headliner to the opening.
That's a lot of pressure.
Right. So she just got on there, took the mic, and started singing it. And then when she was done, I'm looking at all these hard cats just get up and just like,
that was good.
I touched them.
That's my friend. I know her. So that's pretty cool. And I love seeing people who are in tune with why they're doing what they do. And I love to see them thrive. So my person of the month.
Awesome. Absolutely beautiful. Should I go next?
Yeah, you gotta go.
Okay. Speaking of people that are in tune with who they are and just doing them and growing, Demi Lovato has really kicked it out of the park. So if you were born in the 90s like I was, you probably were raised on like High School Musical, Hannah Montana, all of that Disney stuff. As I was so on Disney, That's a Raven Family, all of that. And Demi Lovato was very much so in that mix. It was kind of more on the later half of it when I was like, okay, I'm too old for this. But Demi Lovato's voice was always incredible to me. So I remember trying to sing like her and everything, like trying to get the riffs down and hit the notes like she would. But I recently watched her documentary. She has a documentary on YouTube. It's called Simply Complicated. I was like, oh yeah, let me just give it a watch. She was talking about the things that we kind of know already. She went to rehab, stuff like that. She has eating disorders, things like that. And she kind of just throws you like right into her life. And once it ended, I was like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this girl. Like there's a part, I don't want to give it away because I want everybody to watch it. It really is good. Like you don't have to be a girl, you don't have to be into her music. Like it's just a good story. She was at this place where she was just, just doing drugs, alcohol, like all of that. I think she was like 17, 18, just really consumed it. She was an addict. So she said, and it was an American Idol performance. She was in the car, just left from drinking with two random people that she didn't even know, drinking with them in the hotel room, got in the car, was sick, threw up, got on the stage at American Idol and killed it. I was like, yeah, this is why you're so talented. This is why you are where you are. Like, you are so insanely talented. You're not even hungover. You didn't even get any rest. You just threw up.
The show must go on.
The show must go on. And she went up there and killed it. And of course, makeup, lighting, you can't really see or tell. I'm sure if it was just like she was like 2 feet away from you, like, oh, you good?
Okay?
Right?
She's over there just drifting like,
right? Are you good? But she was up there and she killed it. And of course, like, not to have respect for people singing hungover, but to really demonstrate how incredibly gifted she is. And even in spite of all of that, and she's still battling some things in her life, she's still pushing, still like aiming to be like a mentor for other people. She was a judge on X Factor, on, I think it was X Factor. Like, still trying to pave the way for people and like clean up her act and get it together. So I was so blown away by her. I'm such a huge fan now. I already have tickets for her tour. Tickets literally went on sale like on Monday, and I got my tickets on Tuesday.
Listen, I'll tell you what.
And her album is also insane.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So Brittany knows this. She knows this already. Demi Lovato is going to be my wife one day, but she doesn't know it yet. She doesn't know it yet.
We're fans of her.
Sometimes that's the best way.
I'm a huge fan of Demi Lovato.
Be a big surprise for her.
And what's crazy is that I always like we spoke about this offline one time, and it was like the people that you're surrounded by a lot of times frames your outlook on the world and a perception of yourself too. Like at least Brittany and myself, our discussions about Demi Lovato is always about how awesome she is, how amazing of a person she is, how inspirational she is. But then when you hear all of the demons that she's fighting, and you always, I can't help but think, but like, who's putting that in the back of your mind?
Right.
Like, what environment were you in where someone told you that your body was horrible? Like, in the Black community, oh God, like
worship.
we're just like, oh
yeah, exactly.
and it's just so it's hard to listen to when you hear that someone that can stand to have such a clout in one community is being vilified or is being talked down in another.
Right.
It's just sad. It's really sad. And I guess that's my what's the word? It's my proposal for Demi Lovato to come over to our community. Come over here. Do a few BT like gigs, hey.
We're gonna get her to subscribe to the podcast. Yeah. Just send her a couple fan letters. And
I will.
I'm
trying to get her on the podcast eventually one day too. Can you imagine?
Honestly,
that's the goal.
Don't ever count yourself out. That could happen.
No, but like, it'll be the worst podcast I've ever done though, because she'll sit and hi.
Just see you bad for her.
But yeah, her road was not like fertilized or like soiled at all. It was completely gravel. Like, there was no one really there behind her to make sure that she was good, to make sure that she's on the right path, she's not exposed to everything that you can be exposed to when you're that rich and that successful that fast. So yeah, that's why she's my person of the month. She made it out. She's absolutely still,
every day is a struggle.
Every day is a struggle. Still going through things, but she's made it this far. I'm inspired.
Rome wasn't built in one day.
As
long as you're getting better, you can't be mad at that.
Right.
So I'll get my person of the month, and it's kind of interesting how it kind of happened, because I think maybe towards the end of last month, early this month, Kevin Hart had he had gotten accused. Somebody tried to bribe him basically. Where he's like, all right, she was like, I have evidence of you cheating on your wife, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was able to kind of like own up to all of that before anything, he said, all right, you know what? I'll come clean and let everybody know what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, if my wife really loves me, she'll forgive me. You know what I mean?
Dude, but she was pregnant, though. Can you imagine having that conversation?
It's a very difficult place, and nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
And then from that, then to go, maybe a couple weeks later, he said, all right, just so you guys know, because he's been training for the marathon for a long time, but he didn't announce it right away. So he's like, all right, I'm going to run a marathon. And not only that, but I'm going to raise $300,000 from my scholarship foundation to get young inner city youth through college. So for him to go through all of that, and you got to understand, this man isn't like an athlete. Like Kevin Hart's one of the few non-athletes with a Nike deal.
Yeah,
like,
that's his own sneaker.
Yeah, like he has a Nike deal. But if you look at the guy, he's actually like, I follow him on Instagram heavily, and like he trains like a top athlete. Like some of these things I'm looking at Kevin Hart doing, I used to do in college, and I'm like, yo, you're a comedian, you're a movie star. Like you're still doing this on top of your regular we're not going to say 9 to 5 because we know movie stars work from they get no sleep. You're doing this all on top of that, and then at the same time you have the state of mind to say, all right, I made a mistake, but now let me fix this, and now let me do something to make it right for everybody else. So for him to be raising $300,000 for that community is very impressive.
Don't forget Harvey too, by the way.
Wow, Steve Harvey?
No. Kevin Hart.
Hurricane Harvey. Yeah, he did that too around the same time JJ Watt was doing.
He challenged. He challenged a bunch of his celebrity friends to match his donation, and they did, man. It was cool.
I think he's a great like humanitarian because like even though he's funny, he makes jokes, but he's like when it's time to be serious, he's always the first. He's on the front lines, always trying to like
that's the person
rally everybody. So like I know he made that mistake, but Kevin, on behalf of all Black men in America, we forgive you, brother. We know you made a mistake.
I mean, that's a person that that I think is so in tune with his position and what the change that he stands to make in his position. It was such a heartbreaker when I saw him. When I saw that video, I was like, "Oh, shit. Dude, what are you doing? Like,
it was like you were so clean before that.
What are you doing?
Like, come on, bro.
Like,
you had a lapse of judgment.
Yeah,
but it happens, and it's like you're either gonna bounce back from it or you're gonna get crucified for the rest of your career.
Yeah, because it is unfair, but it's unfair in the Black community that everyone that makes it, we always look at them as like, okay, now you're a leader. Mm-hmm. They don't ask to be a leader, but like celebrity status in the Black community comes with the assumption that you're going to be a leader in some way, some way or somehow. And we're way more than any other community, and it's because we need those role models.
We do. Absolutely.
So that's how I felt a little let down by it. But we all make mistakes, and he bounced back. Yeah, he bounced back, and also he still stayed true to who he is, though, to the guy that made us love him in the first place. Yeah. So I'm proud of him, man. I really am.
That's my boy, bro.
Mm-hmm. Now let's have some fun with this now.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your worst person of the month?
Worst.
I got a good one.
You wanna? Let's go, Brittany, because last week was this week actually Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this Tuesday. Yeah, let's start with the heavy and then get lighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Halloween terrorist attack was insane. And of course, like, you know, in the hood, you always hear about, okay, gunshots going off. All right. But for an actual terrorist attack to happen in Tribeca, of all places, was so odd to me. And of course, like, terrorism, of course, obviously, worst of the month, worst kind of person, especially like Halloween, like kids, it's a holiday, family oriented, all of that. But every time I heard it on the news, and it didn't matter if it was Fox, I tried, what was it, Good Morning America, Eyewitness News, and I think I also tried NBC, and all three of them pitched it as like, this Halloween terrorist attacker was brought into the country by Obama's immigration. I was so like, are you for real right now? I was like, this is why everyone has this idea of all people who practice Muslim, or of Muslim faith, or are from these like 7 banned countries. Yeah, everyone has this idea because the media positions it this way, and it can almost go through subliminally if you don't actually listen. If you're kind of just like listening, like, oh wow, Oh, see, this is why Obama. That's why Obama's letting all these terrorists in. Like, this is why we have this problem. Like, I feel so bad for all. Like, of course, all people of color, everyone who's subjected to some sort of prejudice or discrimination of any sort. It's usually because some mass voice is usually putting these ideas into our minds, whether we're actually paying attention or not. So I'd say that the terrorist attacker and the media are my worst of the month.
It's like, do you imagine what it's like to be Muslim?
Right.
And you see like, shit.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we all do this. The second we see somebody shot up a school or something, don't be black, don't be black,
right.
don't be black, don't be black. And can you imagine when you hear shots fired or explosives went off in a building? Oh my God, please no.
Right.
Please God, no. From the Middle East. Fuck! Like,
yeah,
oh my God.
exactly.
I had a coworker where he was like, yo, honestly, like, I've come accustomed to this, like, because it's just happening. He's like, it sucks, but it's like, it is what it is at this
What
point.
do you like? What do you do? Like, I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I'm of the Muslim faith, like, what? Like, how do I argue against people who seem to be hell bent on on running exposés on my faith?
Yeah.
And you can't argue ignorance. You can't argue against ignorance. You really can't. But at the same time, like, every time these attacks happen, it's like they're being more and more reinforced. And it's like having to tell everyone that all black men don't cheat or all black men don't do whatever. And then they're like, oh, but look at Kevin Hart. Oh, look at this person. That's like, well, no, like, that's one person. Don't
these are the shining examples that we have.
Simpleton, like, don't box me into this little corner.
Yeah, it's easy to blanket term the whole thing.
And I think there's going to be a special on ABC tonight, maybe, or sometime next week. Like, ISIS targets these people because these people are like most vulnerable. Like, you gotta, because I was watching this morning, there was a white kid that was targeted by ISIS. That literally, his father, thank God for his father. I guess he had ordered something in the mail.
You mean he was the lone wolf?
Yeah. His father I guess he had ordered a silencer in the mail. His father had noticed it. Like, whoa. So instead of being like a normal parent, like, because some parents will defend their kids forever.
Yeah.
He basically said, I'm gonna call 911, and his son's in jail right now. But like, instead of being selfish, like, yo, that's my one and only son. Like, he's like, nah, we have to make sure, like, we got to get to the bottom.
Yeah, that
of
you
this.
don't hurt someone.
And like, that's really the thing. It's like, it's not just like people are targeting people. They're targeting a specific people like that have certain vulnerabilities to go down to that level where they feel that this is what they have to do.
And are always young.
To achieve. Yeah, exactly.
And always
you
young.
never see like an 80-year-old. Because those are people, in reality, if you look at an 80-year-old, they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You don't see really a lot of 80-year-old terrorists doing this. I mean, they have the least to lose. And yet it's usually young people who are like in a really bad place, who are really like isolated. So they have a specific group that they target. And it's sad.
There was a report that came out recently. I wish I had the name of it, but it was someone ran a study on a lot of the ISIS leaders, and they asked them pretty much like, can you recite certain parts of the Quran, or can you what does this teaching mean or whatever? And they were totally off. Like they're representing a religion that they don't even study.
Right.
Like, it's like, I'll be offended if I was a Muslim by them, and I think they are. Muslims are offended.
Right.
But it's like, on one end, they hate ISIS and they hate Boko Haram and they hate any other militant faction of that claims to be of Islam's faith, of Islamic faith. But then while they're fighting these idiots, they have to fight the idiots that are simple minded and are looking at things as black and white with no gray area.
Right.
It's such a messed up. It's really messed up.
Let me see. Let me go with you. What's your words of the month?
Mine's ever since, like, there's a lot of times I'm at work and I'm reading random New York Times articles. So this one really caught my eye. So it was in Colorado. Basically, there was a Cub Scout troop that got to meet with local politicians. I want to say it was, I have the name right here, actually. It was in Aurora, Colorado. And basically, this happened after the Las Vegas gun shooting. So I guess what had actually happened is the kid's mother basically said, ask this question. So they had asked a local politician, what are you doing? What are we doing to limit gun control so incidents like this that happened in Las Vegas don't happen again. And instead of giving him like a nice, like a reasonable answer in any type of tone, she kind of brushed him off like, no, if because of lack of gun control, because people don't have guns, this is why that happened. Like if more people had guns, this whole Vegas thing wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was like, wow. And she kind of barked at him. And then to go even further, I guess she either goes up to the club master and basically says like, yeah, I don't like the way he asked that question. So then they end up getting the kid relocated to a whole nother Cub Scout troop. So I'm thinking about it because that kind of hurt me because I'm actually an Eagle Scout. I used to do Boy Scouts as a young kid. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking like, wow, because I asked one question, it was an open question and answer event. Mm. I asked one question and you don't give me an honest answer. Now I got to get removed from my friends around my age group because you felt offended by it. Mm-hmm. And I found that incredible. Like, where is it to the point where a 10-year-old can't have an opinion, ask a question about something? Like, why can't we, if you don't have the same opinion, it's like, no, you have to go to that side of the room. Right. Time out. Time out. You got to get out the truth.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So his name is Ames Mayfield. And apparently, even after being kicked out, he still won't stop asking about gun control. So he's doubling down. This is an Esquire magazine.
He's a 10-year-old, 11-year-old.
He's 11-year-old.
Yeah, he's the most.
Specifically,
he's the best 11-year-old in the country. Right now.
He's not that kid. That kid is. He's
I'd
holding
give him
for
like promoting the Eagle Scout. He's not even old enough, but like give him that.
He's not backing down from the state senator, right? That was the senator, Vicky. What was her name? Vicky Marble, Colorado State senator.
Because the biggest thing with it was that like she kind of co-sponsored a bill that allowed people that were like domestic violence offenders to like own a gun. So like, you know what I mean? Like
domestic violence offenders.
Those are the last people you need having guns. That's my problem. It's like. It's too easy to have a gun.
Right.
And she co-signed on it. She's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't see any problem with that.
Oh, Jesus.
There's no sense.
And then when the little boy asks the question, you're mad at him. Like, why do you have a job?
Like, once again, you have a job. But once again, how do you argue ignorance? You can't argue. It's so difficult to argue against somebody who has their head so far up their ass, didn't even know what the hell you're saying.
Right.
What a shame.
But that's the thing too, like they've, like again, going back to community based, like in your bubble, like you don't know anything other than what you're living in. If most people in your area have guns because they hunt, because they do this and that, it's like, okay, yeah, no one's getting shot up in your town, so why should people that are hunting, and it's like their way of life, and it's something that they teach their children, it's a family thing, why should the whole nation have to suffer because of a few bad apples? So if I can imagine if we were of a different tone of skin and living in
we'd see things differently.
You would see this whole thing completely different. But valid points, very
people
valid
have to
points.
Learn. Like so, this was probably I went to Vegas this summer and I was at a pool party and I met these two guys from North Dakota. So let's put it together. So we're talking about this like this is like drunk. But like intelligent conversation, and I'm like, what is your stance on like gun control? And they're like, honestly, they're like, I'm from North Dakota. We go hunting. Like this is a part of our lives. Like if I see somebody in my field, I would feel safe on my property with a gun. It's just part of our life. And I'm like, okay, hearing it from the way he voiced it, I'm like, honestly, I understand where you're coming from. Right. But he was like, but at the same time, then I explained my view, and then he was like, yeah, I can see how we need to limit gun control because too many people are being killed on these streets each and every day, and it's just too easy to get a gun. Right. And I was like, if it's that easy for me to have a conversation in a pool with two guys that I never met over a couple of beers, why can't we do this? It's like on bigger affairs for the country.
Right. It's like
why can't our leaders do this?
It's like, you know what it is? And I think at older, more and more, I'm starting to realize that like they do know what they should be doing, but the NRA is a very powerful organization, and they're in their pockets.
It's all about money,
they're in their pockets. Like if they're my biggest campaign donor, my bread is buttered with them. I'm not gonna talk about no damn gun control.
Exactly, that's all it comes down to.
I'm gonna take this little shit and I'm gonna kick him out of the goddamn Cub Scouts. Asshole, asking me this dumb question about gun control.
People, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you ask me a question like this at a question and answer event that I set up?
You got me standing up on this.
Remove him.
You got me standing on this stage right now, answering this question, man. And she just kicked him out. Like, is that a derivative of capitalism? Is that what it is? Like, it seeps into politics? You know, like it does. I mean, it's
There's a price tag on everything.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's a price tag on your morals. There's a price tag on your life.
Mhm.
There's a price tag on your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
All of that.
Speaking of price tag, the iPhone X or 10, whatever, just dropped.
Yeah.
And here's my beef. Here's my personal
I
beef.
just got a text about
Yeah,
it.
I have a beef with anyone who's willing to wait online for a phone.
Okay, listen.
If you're listening to this and you waited online for the phone that you listen to this podcast off of, delete the podcast.
Delete it.
And if you have my number, delete my number.
Stop following me. I want no parts.
How is this phone a physical thing that will eventually stop working when the new phone comes out?
Mm-hmm.
How is that worth you taking time out of your day?
My
24 hours, 36 hours?
And I asked my mom, do these people have jobs?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and I just want to know, what is your job?
Well, they're paying $1,000 for it.
Some
so
guy apparently is
money's
online
coming
since like Thursday or Wednesday. Like, what is your
for
job?
a phone.
That's
For
what
a
I know.
phone. Like,
I want his job.
yeah, I have a personal beef with anyone who beef, yes, with anyone who's willing to wait online for anything that is material.
Right.
Why? Sneakers, clothes, movie tickets, iPhones, whatever it is. Why
Right.
are you
Yeah,
on the
and it is.
line for something that is a commodity? It's not. It's like
just about priorities. It's like
Yeah.
So no, and I get it. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do. Marlon, don't be judgmental. I'm not gonna be judgmental. What I am saying is lose my number. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm
fair
saying.
enough.
just leave me alone. Like I don't want to have to spend my time speaking with anyone about this because you are looking at a material object as important enough for you to stand overnight online for. And Black Friday is coming up too. The same shit's gonna happen then too. And I always look at them like, what are you doing?
Right. Oh, and the people that get trampled at Black Friday.
Oh,
It's not worth it.
listen,
Oh,
I
God.
enjoy those videos.
Oh,
so
man.
that Saturday morning, I'm
Saturday
I'm
morning.
refreshing YouTube, waiting for all of those compilation videos
Oh,
of Walmarts and Targets and Best Buys all across the country that are just like
It's not worth it.
ravaged.
It's just not worth
You
it.
see like a mom fighting with a 10-year-old like over a
right.
70-inch
The one
TV.
that snatched the I think it was a toy or something. Snatched the toy
From a
out of
kid?
the child's hand. Went to go buy
It
it
brings
for
out the
kid.
worst in people.
Like, come on, don't do it.
Just give me that.
Don't be that guy. But notice all the items that you listed too: sneakers, clothes.
Material
These
items.
are all material items that are also symbols of your socioeconomic status, whether
Yeah.
it's true or not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You'd like to have this symbol to, like, I don't know, exemplify
Yeah.
some false identity
Yeah.
or
that's
some sort of
Like, yeah,
aspiration
like
that you have within
$1,000
yourself. Yeah, I've known people who have had Xbox, flat screen TVs, like $250 jeans that can't get on the train.
Mhm.
That would ask me for $2.50 at the time.
Doesn't it
I was
bother
like,
you?
That bothers me.
that is to iPhone. Gotta have Verizon because Verizon's the best, but it's also incredibly expensive.
Mhm.
Like, shout out to anybody who has Verizon. It is
It's a lot.
it's good, but it's expensive.
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
More bang for your buck.
Which is pretty bad.
Oh,
but
you have
it's-
AT&T? Poor
It's
thing.
affordable though, but
T-Mobile, you
Gotta
get
do
more
what you gotta
bang for
do.
your buck. If you switch to T-Mobile now, and this is
Yes.
a shameless plug, you switch to
Plug.
T-Mobile right now, you get Netflix for free.
I heard.
Hashtag T-Mobile.
See, I used to have T-Mobile back in the day. I can't go back because
Why?
it's trust me, they don't want me back.
Oh!
Let's just say they don't
I'm
want
not
me back.
welcome in that home.
I'm not welcome
anymore.
there.
Oh
Not
my
my
gosh.
family.
But yeah, I even had a conversation with a friend who works at a museum, and I think the entry fee for adults at the museum was like $30,
Yeah.
something like that. And it wasn't one of those museums that you can just do your own
Mhm.
donation, so you had to buy that ticket. And she would get plenty of people just True Religion, Burberry button-down shirt. Oh, $30. All right, we're leaving. It's like, how much was that shirt?
It's just the
Let's
craziest
talk about
thing.
that. But it's priorities. It's what you're willing to pay for.
Like I'd rather look like $1 million, but won't be able to enjoy $1 million lifestyle,
Right.
which is cool. But
Exactly.
I'd rather go into VIP for $40 and enjoy it than be outside in the line with my $500 jeans.
Exactly.
I'll have more
Posted up
fun
in
than
your
the guy with
Burberry
$500 jeans. Believe that.
There was
in your Burberry shirt.
I remember that whole VIP thing was so true. I remember going on a VIP a year or two ago, and I was a kid in the candy store.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like bouncing off the walls. Oh my God, I'm in VIP. And everyone's sitting there was like, yeah, so.
That's so.
And you all don't understand. I just walked by this entire line to get into this place because
VIP Express.
Yeah, we got there, and I remember walking right to the line. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting online." They're like, "We're in VIP." I'm like, "Oh,
it's like an elite experience."
I know my position. I'm going right to the line, and they're like, "What are you doing?" They look at me like, "Wait, why are you getting online? We don't get online through." I'm like, "Oh, you don't get online? All right, let's do it. Let's do it." But I don't know, like another hot take. I get so mad about that. I get so mad about people that just that put so much stock in material things, and like it's like what's driving you? What's the reason why you're doing this? And you're so out of tune with what you're trying, why you're here, that you're willing to sacrifice 48 hours to stand online for something that can break,
right?
Anytime
that can get stolen, that can drop in the toilet, all those horrifying things.
Like life is too short to be waiting online. Like just go experience something. I'd rather you experience a million different things than wait online for 2 days for an iPhone that does virtually the same thing that your iPhone before did.
Yeah.
So like. People need to go out more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a phone. And you already have one.
So, anywho, before we go, I gotta say this though. Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is very special to me because I pretty much was ushered into true adulthood in Puerto Rico, where I learned many lessons that I don't think I would have been able to learn anywhere else. And the people there were the ones who helped me do that. So I've been refraining from speaking about it or trying to incite any type of change through the site because I didn't understand fully what was going on down there. So I didn't want to speak on anything and be incorrect. Right, exactly. So now that we're here though, I just want to, if anyone's listening, please, if there's any way you can help Puerto Rico, these are not people that are begging for handouts, by the way. Everyone I've spoken to down there are very self-sufficient. Everyone that I've spoken to is like, we'll do it. We've always found a way to deal with anything that's been presented to us, any situation we've been in. But we as a country, the fact that a lot of us don't even know that Puerto Rico is part of the United States, just goes to show just how disconnected we are from our own country, from the entire landscape of the United States and how far the American dream should spread. Brittany was speaking about earlier about perspective, being insulated by the same shit over and over again in your own community, and I feel like a lot of us, that's happened to us. Please realize that where you're from is all luck. No one jockeys or lobbies for you to be born in New York or San Francisco or wherever. These people were born in Puerto Rico to a country that and on an island where a country claims to inhabit them. Like the United States claims Puerto Rico is one of their own, and the United States is not. The government is not doing what they should do for what they would do for any state if such a disaster was to hit there, and they deserve better. That's what I'm saying. And if you can help in any way, Red Cross or any of these other organizations, please donate, get the word out. There's some amazing stories, great stories from a lot of people there, just about life, not even about the hurricane, not even about the socioeconomic statuses. There's an approach to life that I've never seen before. And we as Americans need to preserve and cherish the fact that we have such a unique set of people in our country, and right now we've forgotten that. So I would hate that's a kind of a lukewarm way to end this, but it's heartfelt and it means a lot.
It was true.
Yeah, a slightly lighter tone. We're going through our closets and saying, okay, it's getting colder. Not really today because it's 72 degrees.
Oh, Jesus, yes.
But it's getting colder, so just go through your closet. Really rifle through, what am I really not wearing anymore? Just get it together. Donate to the Salvation Army. Just any way to just give what you have. Find out, like through UNICEF, Save the Children. There's plenty of things you can just Google and just figure out who's donating to what.
Right.
And of course, there's plenty other places that are affected by all these natural disasters. Mexico, Dominica, like all of these countries that aren't really getting as much attention because of Puerto Rico being a U.S. territory. Just look into that too. It's so easy. And I got all my clothes together. I'm waiting for the Salvation Army to pick them up now.
Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
No, it's just like it's just that, you know, that we're lucky. Everyone's lucky.
Absolutely.
And I hope to God, whoever it is listening to this and is willing to make a move and make a difference, don't make it a spectacle either. You don't. I would hate to see. I hate to see people make it a spectacle that they're donating, stuff like that. Which is why I really didn't want to speak on it, because I don't want to make it a spectacle. Yeah. So thank you guys for coming out. Elijah,
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
man.
Man.
I appreciate it though.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to this whole week.
I
I was like, all right, let's get through work and just make it. I was happy. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Well, this is the third official Millennial Perspective. We're gonna be back again in the next few weeks for November in review. So this is Marlon Dundas. Thank you for tuning in.